This is Spider-Man. Yes, the game from 6 years ago. I might be a tad late in a review/video essay, but who cares? It's a good game, and I figured I'd start to review all the Insomniac Spider-Man games. If you somehow don't know who or what Spider-Man is, then let me give you a quick rundown. Peter Parker, also known as Spider-Man, is a little bitch boy at school, but is also a super sticky man. His powers are super strength, superhuman reflexes, being sticky, and a danger warning thing called Spider Sense. He makes his own webs, and that's pretty much all you need to know. Although I suggest you at least watch a Spider-Man movie or TV show before playing or watching anything on the games, as it'll greatly heighten your experience. On to the movement. There are actually a couple ways you can get around the map, like swinging around while stopping crime and taking in the sights, like this brown building, or this brown building, or you can just take the subway, which is great for when you feel like you want to choke your meat snake, because it feels like it takes like 5 minutes. While there aren't many movement options, and the movement isn't very in-depth or super revolutionary, it is still incredibly fun, just trying to go as fast as you can, doing tricks and running on walls. But to me, fun movement is the most important thing about a big open world game. After all, if you don't enjoy moving around the map, then it makes getting anywhere feel like a chore. If you want to see someone go more in depth on the movement in Spider-Man, then make sure you go check out this video by Bisley. Now on to combat. The fighting in this game is surprisingly personalized. And the way that you can choose to be constantly bouncing between enemies, just absolutely wail on one guy until all of his bones are dust, or just fuck around in the air for 10 minutes while everyone just waits for their turn on the ground. There are quite a few skills you can unlock as well, such as the swing kick, web pull, and just chucking enemies 30 feet away. You can unlock skills by using skill points, which you get from leveling up. There are finishers that just immediately take out grunts and does massive damage to bosses. You can use finishers if you get a high enough focus bar, which you can build up by getting higher combos and dodging attacks. There are also gadgets that you unlock throughout the game that do different things, such as throwing everyone in the air, shooting projectiles at enemies, or just throwing a grenade that webs everyone up. On top of that, there are also suit abilities that you unlock from purchasing suits with tokens that you get from completing different objectives and missions across the map. Suit abilities can range from getting rid of gravity, to quipping, or just making you fucking Mike Tyson. There are also stealth missions and optional sections in the game. They can range from breaking a couple spines, to systematically dismantling an entire military task force. So there's a little variation. And stealth missions are just stealth in general. There are a few different takedowns you can do, such as a boring stealth takedown where you pull a guy up to your spot and stick him onto a wall with your white sticky stuff, or you can be cool and zip the enemies and immediately sever their spinal cord, which usually doesn't go well since a lot of the times someone will spot you as you panic to get back to your vantage point. You can also just go in and smell the back of some dude's head before you permanently paralyze them. The story in Spider-Man is more than likely wildly better than you would expect. If you somehow managed to avoid spoilers or just haven't seen the game yet, then I strongly recommend you go and play or watch the game, as it's a great experience. So spoiler warning if you haven't realized it yet. The game starts with Spider-Man taking down Kingpin. Later, he comes across a weird magical ass gang named the Demons, which he proceeds to fucking fold. Then he finds Mary Jane looking at files about a thing called Devil's Breath, but the Demons end up getting the files. So the Demons start forcefully taking over all of Kingpin's stuff, like construction properties, which are fronts for things like gun running and stuff like that. So, with the help of Officer Jefferson Davis, Spider-Man beats the crap out of some demons. Because of his heroic acts, Officer Jefferson Davis gets a medal. At the ceremony, a bunch of demons blew themselves up, attempting to kill many civilians. During the explosions, Officer Jefferson Davis pushed a bomber away to save the people near him. However, because of this, he ended up dying. During the demon's invasion of the ceremony, you play as Davis' son, Miles Morales, and you look around trying to find your dad, but you end up finding him dead and see that Martin Lee was responsible. Dealing with his grief, Miles joins Feast, which is a charity organization owned and operated by Martin Lee. However, Lee had left the organization to make the Demon Gang. Spider-Man continues to pursue the Demon Gang and finds out that Martin Lee is the leader of the demons, and that he has a grudge against Norman Osborne for killing his parents. He also finds out that Lee is searching for Devil's Breath to release it on the city as it's a chemical weapon. Lee manages to steal Devil's Breath, but is stopped by Spider-Man before he can release it. While he is put in the Raft, which is a high-security prison made for supervillains and such, Peter's boss and mentor, Dr. Octavius, becomes more obsessed with getting revenge on Osborne as he continues to foil all of Octavius's plans and job opportunities. So he continues to work on prosthetics in a bid to show Osborne what's what, but he ditches the human arm design he was using before and instead makes 4 long tentacles that start at your back. But he starts to rush his design because he has an illness that makes his muscles deteriorate. When he starts the arm, they corrupt him and make him obsessed with revenge against Osborne at any cost. With his new arms, Otto attacks the Raft and frees a handful of supervillains, such as Scorpion, Rhino, Electro, Martin Lee, and the Vulture. Then they proceed to rock Spider-Man's world. Using the villains he freed, he makes a team to get revenge on Osborne. The villains, however, follow Otto for their own reasons, such as Rhino wanting to get out of his suit, or Vulture wanting to be cured of cancer. Otto's team then wreaks havoc on the city as a distraction for Spider-Man. That way, he doesn't realize that Otto is after Devil's Breath. While Peter whoops the villains back to the Raft, Otto releases Devil Breath on the city. Because of this, the pandemic starts and pretty much everyone in the city becomes sick. During this time, Mary Jane learns that Martin Lee was a test subject for Devil's Breath, and that it's what gave him his powers. However, because of his new powers, he ended up killing his parents. Mary Jane then finds out the location of the cure for Devil's Breath, so she tells Peter. So, Peter heads to the location where he encounters and beats Martin Lee. However, Otto then shows up and tosses Peter around a bit before snatching the cure and Norman Osborn. So, to counter Otto, Peter makes a new suit designed to beat him. When Peter arrives at Oscorp Tower, which is where Otto is, he saves Osborne, who was dropped by Otto. Then Peter and Otto have an intense fight where ultimately Otto gets absolutely folded. But even after he folded Otto, his Aunt May, who was the person who raised him since he was a kid, still died from Devil's Breath, as he had to make the heartbreaking decision with the cure whether to just save her life or to save everyone in the city. Looking back at the way they set up and portrayed how important Dr. Octavius is in Peter's life was done, incredibly well. Even though you know that Otto will turn into a villain, you still end up getting invested in the relationship between Peter and Otto. It's still sad listening to Peter and Otto talk to one another about their relationship and how it just ended up devolving, and them talking about Octavius trying to kill Norman and him releasing Devil's Breath in the city. Then Peter finding out that Otto knew that he was Spider-Man the whole time. The betrayal Peter must have felt since he was trying to get Otto to give up on revenge the whole time. Even when Otto was beating Peter's ass, Peter still tried to get him to give up on revenge. Then there's the post-credit scenes, which get you hyped for the upcoming projects. In the first post-credit scene, it's revealed that Miles also has spider powers now, and he shows his powers to Peter. And in turn, Peter also then shows Miles his powers. And in the second and last post-credit scene, Harry Osborn, who is Norman's son and Peter's best friend, is revealed to be in a test tube with a symbiote that we know as Venom. Anyways, back to Otto. He's the final boss in the main story, and in total there are 10 different bosses in the main game, 2 of those being in optional side missions. There are also a large chunk of Spider-Man's most iconic rogues in this game, such as Kingpin, Scorpion, Rhino, Electro, and Dr. Octopus. The boss battles are all unique and enjoyable, although they tend to be incredibly easy, to the point where you barely have to pay attention to the game. But most of the battles have a thing you have to do to the boss before you can actually hit them, such as having to web up Kingpin before wailing on him, or having to hit Rhino with various heavy objects before bitch slapping him. There are also a couple of double boss fights, where you fight 2 bosses at once. There are only 2 in the game, but they're quite fun. The 2 are Scorpion and Rhino, and Vulture and Electro. For the Scorpion and Rhino fight, you have to web up Scorpion to immobilize him, so you can beat him like you beat your meat. And as previously mentioned, to beat up Rhino, you have to drop heavy ass shit on him so you can slap the ever-loving bejesus out of him. Then there's the other combo of bosses, Electro and Vulture. And oh my fucking god, I love Electro. He's my absolute favorite boss in this game. He quips back and forth with Peter, and it's just great. But sadly, you have to just absolutely rock his world. And you can just fold the old man. There's also a fun little Mr. Negative, or also known as Martin Lee, boss fight. In the boss fight, you're in a bus and you have to jump around the surfaces of the bus, dodging his little waves until he gets sleepy and lets you fucking clap his cheeks. There's a whole bunch of shit you can do around the map, such as grabbing old backpacks, which at this point is going to be nearly $8,000 worth of backpacks, since there are fucking 55 backpacks you can grab. There are also landmarks that you can take pictures of, and police scanner towers that unlock sections of the map for you. Then there are Taskmaster and Screwball challenges, which make you do various things, such as beating a bunch of people with a certain gadget, quickly getting to a place to throw a bomb, or just taking some pictures. There are Black Cat stakeouts, in which you find a Black Cat doll through a telescope. There are research stations, in which a recording of Harry Osborn tells you to do something around the area to help the environment. Then there are outposts held by different groups that you have to clear out. Inside the outposts, you're basically just beating the shit out of people for 5 waves. Don't ask me how many people are in a wave, because I have no fucking clue. Just turn your mind off and just beat people's ass. And finally, there are also crimes that are committed by different groups on the city that you can stop. Or you can just fucking walk by and ignore them, that's also an option. Now we get to some of the only bad things in this game. the MJ and Miles missions, which make me want to slam a fucking door on my balls. These missions are all about stealth, except instead of playing a good stealth mission, it's like hiding away from your parents at a store. You're just standing behind a rack of clothes, peeking your fucking head out. I swear to God, these guys are blind. I can literally gargle on their cock and balls and they won't have any idea. The only good thing about these missions is seeing exaggerated swagger of a black teen beat the shit out of Spider-Man. But yeah, these missions fucking suck. And MJ's sections have no redeeming qualities. Anyway, speaking of Mary Jane, what a bitch. I hate this woman with all of my being. I'm gonna drown her in a 3-inch puddle. This woman got upset that Peter tried to save her life. She got upset because Peter tried to save her life. How brain-rotted do you have to be to not understand that guns are dangerous? Mary Jane agitates me, and her missions suck, as they absolutely destroy the pacing, as well as just not being a fun time. There are a few DLC in Spider-Man, those being The Heist, Turf Wars, and Silver Lining. In The Heist, Spider-Man runs into Black Cat and helps her to get away from the Mafia after she told him that they have her kid hostage. However, at the end of the DLC, it's revealed that Black Cat tricked Peter to get a USB with all of the Mafia and Hammerhead's organization's information on it. That DLC leads into the next one, which is Turf Wars, where a villain named Hammerhead and his faction are fighting against the Mafia factions to gain full control. Hammerhead's trying to get his grubby little hands on a piece of Sable tech called Project Olympus. He ends up getting it, and it's revealed that it's a suit that turns the user into a nearly invincible cyborg with crazy strength. So, Spider-Man proceeds to fold him before Yuri, who's a cop friend of Spidey, shoots him in the head after she had lost a lot of her men to the fights between Hammerhead's gang and the Mafia. However, it's revealed that he's revived by a goon of his later in an ambulance. Then, Silver Lining starts, in which Hammerhead is revealed to be alive and looking for more Sable tech to strengthen his goons. So, Silver Sable, who was a hired guard working with Sable to protect Norman Osborne from the demons in the main game, returns to spank Hammerhead for taking her shit. Then, Silver Sable and Spider-Man go to Hammerhead after investigating a goon and are caught in a trap in which Silver Sable is abducted and Spider-Man is nearly killed by getting pushed into a jet engine. However, Black Cat appears and saves Spider-Man by yanking Hammerhead away before promptly disappearing into the night, just like my dad. Then, Spidey goes and saves Silver Sable before learning that they have to absolutely go to town on Hammerhead's forehead with a laser to melt the metal in his head, because apparently he has some titanium-ass shit in his head. So they whoop his ass and the DLC ends with Silver Sable leaving. Well, that's an oversimplification of pretty much everything in Spider-Man from 2018. Next, I'll cover the Miles Morales game, so that should be a bit of a shorter video, and in turn, it shouldn't take as long to make, since this has taken me over a week now just for the script. And I don't even want to think about how long it'll take to edit the video together and get all the clips I need. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to check out some of my other videos as well as my other video essays, that is, if there are actually any out. But yeah, if there's another game you want to see me play or make this kind of video about, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you all next time.